I was here just a year ago as a visitor with an April 1 start date with AQHA, and I learned a great deal in that weekend that we had in Fort Worth. And that is that, this is a very diverse group of folks from a lot of different backgrounds, from a lot of different socioeconomic environments, a lot of different countries, a lot of different interests. Coming from a cattle and ranching background, that's really my background. I'm having a ramp up here. I've had a pretty steep climb in the last year. But I had the opportunity to work with some folks that had also similar background to mine, ranching background. And I have a sneaking suspicion that Glenn Blodgett had picked up on some of the work we had been doing at the American Hereford Association for the last 20 some odd years. In the cattle business, it's very economically driven. There's some passion in it because you got to get up calving heifers at 2 in the morning. If you're not passionate about it, it's hard to get up. But we are, back in the day, we're really focused on numbers. We're focused on EPDs. We measured every trait you could measure on a cow that had any economic relevance whatsoever. Sometimes it got boring, always talking about average daily gain, cost of gain, udder quality, calving ease, all of these things that scientists like to talk about. But we had a strategic planning meeting one time. We brought Kevin Oshner in to talk about opportunities in the cattle business. And we came up with a secret weapon. I think you'll enjoy it. We thought we're going to make an end around the equine industry with this product. We know it can be successful. We've just got to design it. We got to act on it. And so we gave it a shot. And so that was our first shot at equestrian activities. And as you know, SmartPack was involved in it as well, if you look at the cannon bone pads on that old heifer. But we just couldn't get it quite off the ground. It's been a wonderful year with these 5 fine people in a leadership role here at AQHA. And they've been very patient with the new executive vice president. And we've had wonderful times together developing strategy, talking about the outlook of our industry, and assessing our resources back home. We've done it at every level from the ground up, and we have looked at what does our organization even mean to our corporate partners? What are we delivering to them to keep enticing them to spend $7 million with us to support this great industry? And so we've looked at it from the top, from the very bottom up, and we've had to assess what are our skill sets, what are our talents, and I've been able to go down this road and this path with this lovely couple, and it wasn't without challenge. And I can't emphasize enough. As we were deep diving into this quarter horse business, there was something more important that was going on. So it made for a remarkable year. And some of the things that we just get in trouble with on a daily, we worry over, got pretty minute this year. It got pretty minute, and we were able to really focus because there was a couple that were dealing with an issue that was much more important than what even we were dealing with. So I learned a great deal on this journey with Doc, and spending time with him and friends that were with him in that hospital waiting room, and we learned a great deal about each other. And I think that's probably the most important thing that I have gotten, out of this year. We are a big industry. We can look at the down cycle since 2008, and you can look at the loss of assets of 12 million. You can look at the numbers of horses that have been in decline since 2008, much of which was out of the control of any organization that impacted all of equestrian breeds associations around the world. But the American Quarter Horse Association represents something great across the equine sector. It is the largest, most versatile breeders of any other breed in the world, bar none. It is 60% of the equine industry. So with that scope, with that size, we have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to our alliance partners. My good friend Gary Carpenter, Jim Brett Campbell, those folks that are out there focusing on an event using our horse. We have a responsibility to them and others, our whole entire racing industry. We have a responsibility to, when we need to stand up in a policy matter and go to Washington, it's our job to do that. And so we have a much, much bigger responsibility than a lot of folks out there in the equine industry, and that's something that resonated with me this year. If you look at the priorities, I want to break down the year for you in terms of the priorities, the analytics that we began to use to really prepare ourselves for planning. And these were the priorities. We wanted to recruit professionals. We wanted to recruit professionals and develop a leadership team. The number one job that I have, it's like a college football coach. It's to get the best people we can get to do the job that you want us to do. And so that was a major priority, identifying our talent internally, going after talent externally, and begin to build this team. The second thing was to survey our membership, find out the demographics, find out the wants, find out the needs. You all got several surveys sent your way this year. The big membership survey. We did a journal survey if you're a journal subscriber. We just recently completed a World Show survey and a recreational riding survey. So information is power. We're trying to understand who you are, what you need, so that we can do the things that Kevin talked about and focus our resources where they need to be. Where are the sweet spots? We've been investing in designing in modern business technology. Trent touched on this. I'm going to talk to you about it here again. This is the most important thing that we must do aside from finding quality people, is to get our platforms in place for the future. We are not there. And we'll talk more about that here shortly. And obviously we want to develop business plans for upstart ventures that Trent talked about. Outside income opportunities like the awards recognition company and Rob and Glenn Pedigree. At one time the AQHA spent close to $1 million on awards, on your membership awards. If you think about taking ownership of that and getting those awards in at cost, what that can do, and then creating business environments with our partners in the industry, as the 60%, the largest organization in the equine sector, we can provide those services back out to our partners. And so we've been focusing on business plans to drive revenue in both awards and in pedigree information. That's our bread and butter. The breeding of horses, the pedigree, the performance of those horses, hey, that's why this organization was started. And Rob and Glenn Pedigree brings the money side of earnings, and when we combine that with the point side of performance on the AQHA computer, we've got something incredibly powerful if you're a breeder interested in information. And so we've been focusing on that business model. And obviously, we're continually looking at evaluating cost benefits of every program, and what is it delivering to you. Building a robust media plan. The Quarter Horse Journal was started up in 1941. It is our flagship. It is our banner. It is our communication piece. But over time, as the industry has become more segmented, it has kind of slipped in subscription. We're going to talk a little bit about that. So we've gotten behind a strategy to rebuild our media program. How we communicate with you. What is it that you want? What are you interested in? And can we deliver a product to you that you're interested in? High quality, something you're going to put out on the coffee table. And then what can we do from the digital side? Can we stream events internationally? What are we going to do on the media side going forward and delivering information in the way you want it? Reaching across the industry for institutionalizing best welfare strategies. A lot of our time, the executive committee's time, as Glenn mentioned, was spent dealing with welfare. Racing in particular has spent an awful lot of time at trying to protect the horse, level the playing field, and get performance-enhancing drugs out of the sport. You know, we've dealt with other issues, and we worked across the aisle with Conformation Horse Association to come up with solutions that make sense. It's been tough. It's been a challenge. It's going to continue to be a challenge because the bar keeps moving. But this is an area, obviously, that the EC has been working on diligently with you and the Welfare Commission. You know, one of the great politicians, one of my heroes of all time, President Ronald Reagan said, surround yourself with the best people you can find, delegate authority, and don't interfere as long as the policy you've decided upon is being carried out. That's kind of hard to do when you're on a family operation, isn't it? You've got to count on people, and you just hope they're the best. But at AQHA, we have to find the best. We have found the best. They're inside our offices. We've just got to provide them the tools so that they can elevate our organization even further. So this year, we've spent a lot of time getting to know one another, and I've identified some really exceptional people to help me lead our team forward. You know Trent Taylor, 22-year veteran of the association, great numbers guy, tremendous operationals guy. He's level-headed, and he's been a tremendous partner working with me in trying to establish these business models, these business plans, and really change the culture toward a business-minded, result-driven organization. Next to him on the top number 2 spot there is Chad Pierce. We owe a great deal of gratitude to Chad for mobilizing a legal team that took on a massive litigation lawsuit, the cloning lawsuit. And I can tell you he celebrated when he got that notice in October. He was pretty excited about it. But this gentleman carries a lot of wisdom, a lot of legalese, and he's quite the partner. That third spot there is Pete Kyle, our Chief Competition Director. Let me tell you something about Pete. It didn't take me very long to understand what kind of a person he was. He's a people person. And in the competition business, that is the person you need to have directly hand to hand with their competitors in driving the ship of our World Select shows. He's done an outstanding job. He's a Hall of Fame trainer. He knows how to do it. And I've got a great deal of faith and trust in Pete, and we're obviously elevating our game. The third one is Lauren Walsh. Lauren's been in the back room of the marketing department in the trenches for the last 9 years, fighting the battle since 2008. Lauren's got a background in agency work out of Houston. She worked in the oil and gas business. She came back to her passion and came to AQHA, and she is doing wonderful work with a wonderful marketing team. To her right is Carl Mullins, a 22-year veteran of the publishing business. Carl has taken on our AQHA media program. His experience go back to Morris Communications, where he ran several publications in the equine sector, approximately 12 to 15 different print media properties and digital properties. And we're changing the game a little bit. We're going to talk to you some about that. On the bottom left, number 1 spot is Brent Davison. Brent Davison is now your new Chief Foundation Officer. Brent has over 25 years experience in the foundation development business. Several universities. Recently, he spent 5 years working on a $63 million campaign that he met before the 5 years was up. He's been with the PGA Hall of Fame First Tee program, K-State, North Texas State University. He's a gentleman, and you're going to love him. You need to get to know him. He's going to really help us lift our foundation, and the money's going toward it. The young lady to his right is a lady that I identified after interviewing about 14 really fine ladies within our office. Her name's Robin Brooks. She's my administrative assistant. I picked Robin out because she's a wonderful person. She's caring to others. She's got a servant heart. And that's the message that I wanted to send to the rest of our organization. That's the type of person we need to model after if we're going to be in a service business. Robin's a beautiful person. She's on a steep learning curve as I am, but I'm really proud of the work that Robin's doing. Recently, we just added another team member, Kim Lindsay. I can't tell you enough how excited I am to bring Kim Lindsay on the team to help Pete in the competition department. You know, we've had tremendous growth in the ranching program. Ranching heritage is taking off. It is our heritage, and there's a lot of entry points to ranch riding that we need to take advantage of. You know, Kim comes from Texas Tech, where she ran the equine program there, and she was the executive vice president of the stock horses of Texas. Very well respected cattlewoman and horsewoman, and she's on our team now. And I really want to praise her for the job she did yesterday on the panel. And to her right is Jen Perkins. Jen Perkins is a racing marketing expert, grew up around the track in Utah. She spent some time with companies that are developing online exchanges and online wagering type programs, and we hope that she can help us deliver different products that will enhance the experience at the track. We will also be looking at what are our needs in racing for the future. What type of director do we really need? Are we going to get into a political game, which I imagine will be coming, and maybe look at someone that has the wherewithal to take us to a new level from a political standpoint? Those are your team members. There are countless others that follow behind them that back them up, and I can't tell you enough, we've got a crack shot quality group of people here. I guarantee you. Now, yesterday, Lauren Walsh presented some data, which is very interesting, and she's allowed me to share that with you. And it was our core membership demographic. And you're not surprised. We are 75% women, 95% white, 73% over the age of 46, 50% over the age of 56. They're college-educated folks, 92%. They're middle class. 3/4 of them are in rural resident areas. 72% married, 63% no children living in the household. Congratulations, empty nesters. We can go ride a horse now. And 65% have grandchildren. That's very revealing, isn't it? Wonderful group of women, predominantly women, and they have buying power. They also have influence over children. They have influence over families. Somebody said yesterday, where are the dads? I couldn't agree more. Let's bring the dads in as well. Buying power. Let's just look at what was said yesterday. 31% of them have 3 or more dogs, Janet Trotter. 22% of them have 3 or more cats. 645,000 pets are owned by AQHA members, and we extrapolated and we estimate that there's nearly $1 billion spent on pet care products. Now imagine that. And we don't have a pet food sponsor yet. Can you imagine that? Lehman and I have had some talks about that. Buying power. Incredible buying power. Our women also like guns, gardening, and trucks. Gentlemen, my wife resembles that 100%. 65% have more than one truck or SUV. 51% garden, and 75% own a pistol, a shotgun, or a rifle. Ford would be very proud of us. Ford has a market share penetration within this membership of 51%. 51%. Those 12 years of being our partner have paid off in spades. And I think that's the message that all of our sponsors are getting. You have buying power, but we also appreciate what they do for us, and we're loyal to them. So whenever you get a chance to see our partners, thank them for what they're doing for us. When you look at membership interest, it's deep and wide. It's what Kevin had talked about. We're spread out and spread thin in a big way. And so when you look at racing at 13%, competition and non-AQHA shows 21%, that's breeding, ranch work 37%. I'm not sure why those aren't showing up there. Let's see if I can get them here on my list. Above, you got rodeo competition at 30%, breeding ranch work 37%, breeding recreational riding 38%, breeding a breeder that shows is 40%, compete in non-AQHA show events 41%, ranch use 43%, compete in AQHA shows 47%, and recreational riding nearly 50%. So we have a very diverse sophisticated membership. So that begins to describe the challenge. The sweet spots that we're looking at right now, where we think there's potential growth, is obviously rodeo competition at 30%. We're seeing a movement of our youth into speed events. And so those are some areas that we are really wanting to look at in terms of barrels, in terms of tie down, breakaway. There's a lot of movement in our kids moving in that direction. Ranch use, it's an obviously popular event for us. It's growing. It has a very easy entry point. And so with Kim's help and others, we're going to try to dive into ranch riding. And then recreational riding has always been our number one driver of membership. And so trying to figure out what those folks' needs are is a challenge. Today, through our horseback riding program, they turn paperwork in, the number of hours that they log on their horse. An app should be developed. It has been developed. We need to incorporate technology that's going to help those folks deliver to them what their needs are. So technology platforms are areas we're looking at. Where do they keep their horses? Their horses are 76% are on the family property, and they're not making any more family property, are they? What I'm really interested in are those bottom 16% that are renting stables, are keeping their horses at friends' places. That's where the growth is probably going to wind up being, as we discussed yesterday in the forum. So trainers' properties, 14%. Where our growth is going to be is in non-conventional places where they can keep and ride and participate in equestrian events. I can't express enough how important information technology is to this organization. That's a boring topic for most of us who are working outdoors under the sunlight. But I have to tell you that AQHA is not just an equine membership organization. AQHA is a technology organization, and I'll explain more. We are currently in the middle of the most important project that this organization will be involved in the next decade, bar none. It will be close to a $6 million project to rebuild the infrastructure of our computers. And you can only guess what this means for you. How many would appreciate online registration, transfer membership opportunities where it could be turned around in 12 hours and you've got a registration certificate sitting in your inbox in the next morning? That's the kind of expectation that we have to take this organization to. How many of you would like to transfer on your iPhone or iPad the horse that you're looking at in the pasture to the guy who's standing there next to you at that moment? And the certificate gets emailed to him or mailed to him the next morning. That is the level of service that we have to get to. We're on a product right now that's 22 years old. The license is run out. We have to get this right. We have to get this right. In our database at AQHA, and this is why we're a technology firm, there are 6.7 million horse pedigrees, 3.8 million historic members, 26 million competition records, 5 million racing result records, over 1,400 rules in the rule book for membership, registry, and competition. We have a very complex organization. So when Trent asks you to consider this year for the moment to allow us to get this right, it's for good reason. Because we have to get this platform done so that we can then work on the tools that are going to make your life easier. So much easier. Okay? So that's why I want to emphasize today why this is so important. It's a game changer for our organization, and it's got to get done right. And if you ask us to do something out of, say, our show committee this weekend, we'll have to write that rule back into the old system and try to program it into the new system at the same time. That backs up time, and time is not something we want to drag out. We want this thing done. We want it done in 2017. Talk to you a little bit about media. Since 1948, you've all been a big fan of the Quarter Horse Journal. Since 1988, we got into the racing journal business. And in 1998, we got into America's Horse. It goes out to every member. The one thing I want you to understand, print media business is in change. It's in drastic change today. And it's because people are very specific with their interest. So in the past, I understand, they've tried to be all things to all people in the journal, and it hasn't worked because you have your own interest. And so with Carl on board, we're going to try something a little bit different. We're going to roll out Ranch Horse Journal in June. You'll all get a free subscription to the preview of Ranch Horse Journal in June and Performance Horse Journal in July. Ranch Horse will be surrounding our ranching heritage breeders, folks involved in the ranching industry and ranch activities, including rodeo, maybe some speed events. Performance Horse is going to look at our alliance partners and what they're doing in reining and cow horse, and perhaps in the cutting industry. We think there's room, there's space to deliver you a quality product that you're interested in. And so we're going to try to build our subscription base under an entire new product platform. In addition to that, digital requirements and demands are changing. This next year, we're going to be developing an AQHA media plan to develop on-demand digital full-line products where we can bring to you events live streamed to your home on demand. I think that could be the biggest thing that we could do for our international membership. What if we were to go to Germany to the championships, or to Brazil to the South American championships, and we live stream those events with commentary in their own language or in English in those specific areas? It's the biggest thing I think we can do for our international partners, our international members, which number over 40,000, by the way. So with Carl's help, Lauren's help, our team, we're going to go external, and we're going to bring some people in to talk about this media type. We feel like we're going to launch a new era in the Quarter Horse Journal. I want to wrap it up with this. We talked a lot yesterday about our demographics, and we talked about this big window of void where we're not bringing young families in. And I can tell you, this next year, we need to spend an enormous amount of time finding opportunities for our youth. And not just competition opportunities. You know, when I went to World this year, it lasted a long time. People came in the door, they did their event, and they went home. And at the end, I was watching these kids rope. And I was down there in the box watching this little kid down here in the bottom right, just whipping and spurring, and he roped like a champion. And what concerned me about that day was the fact that our stands were empty. This young man roped at the World Youth Show, and he caught, and it took him every ounce of sinew in his body to get that calf down. And there was a handful of us on the floor clapping, hooping, and hollering. That's our future, folks, and we need to find a way to mobilize ourselves as an organization and find more opportunities to celebrate them, give them educational opportunities, internships. We need to change the game for youth within the AQHA. We've got a wonderful opportunity before us. We've got to get our house in order, and we're working diligently on that, I promise you that. We want your input. You're getting probably inundated more than you'd like with survey data, but we need to analyze it, right? And then we need to develop the strategy, and then we need to act on it. And we're acting on a lot of those early strategies, but we need your help. We need your help. We appreciate you being here. We need your help in being an inviting, family-oriented, fair, and humane organization, right? That's who we are. We're the American Quarter Horse Association. So with that, it's been my honor to give you my first report, and what a year it's been. And again, praise God for the help we've had this year with the Blodgett family, and I'm sure proud I was by his side and he was by mine. Quite a pleasure. Thank you.